The lawyer read, "Everything will go to the eldest son." I was the youngest. I took care of my mother during her cancer while my brother traveled through Europe. She left everything to him. He was always her favorite. I turned off the phone. I never went back. A month later, my sister wrote to me, "Dad doesn't want to eat. He only asks for you." I replied, "I took care of him for 3 years. According to the will, he's no longer my responsibility." I can't believe I'm writing this, but I need to get it off my chest because it's driving me crazy. Last week, I went to the reading of my mom's will. A $300,000 house, savings account, investments, everything for my older brother. I'm the youngest, and I took care of Mom for 3 years while he gallivanted around Europe. When I heard that, I froze. I literally couldn't process what had just happened. The only thing I could think about was the photo that idiot had posted on Instagram from Paris while I was taking Mom to chemo. 3 years, 3 damn years taking care of Mom while he lived his European adventure. The lawyer avoided looking at me. He knew it was unfair. Everyone in that office knew it. My sister's eyes were red, but she didn't look at me either. I put away my cell phone, got up from that leather chair that smelled of betrayal, and walked out of the office. I never went back. But let me tell you how we got here. It all started 3 years ago when Mom gathered us in the living room. She had that serious look she used when something important was about to happen. "Pancreatic cancer," she said, "stage 3. The doctors talked about aggressive chemotherapy, experimental treatments, a long and painful fight." I remember exactly where everyone was sitting, me on the small sofa, my sister in Dad's armchair, and my older brother leaning against the wall as if he couldn't stay still for even 5 minutes. Mom explained everything with that forced calm parents use when they want to protect you from panic. My brother was the first to speak. "It's temporary," he said. "I'll be back from Europe soon. I just need to finish this project in Barcelona. It's a unique opportunity for my career." Mom nodded as if that made perfect sense, as always. I had a promotion waiting for me, department head at the company where I had worked for 5 years, more money, a better future, everything I had been building step by step. But when I saw Mom there, small in her housecoat, I knew someone had to stay. Someone had to be there for the 6 a.m. doctor's appointments, for the nights when she couldn't sleep from the pain, to hold her head when she vomited after chemo. That someone was going to be me. I told my boss I needed time off. "Family emergency," I explained. I thought it would be a few months. It turned into 3 years. While I was buying adult diapers and learning to prepare bland meals that wouldn't make her nauseous, my brother was posting photos from Santorini. "Perfect week in Santorini," he wrote with sun emojis, while I slept on Mom's sofa to hear if she needed me in the middle of the night. He posted videos from music festivals in Amsterdam. My girlfriend left after 8 months. "I don't recognize you anymore," she said. "You're always tired, always stressed. You always have to run off to your mom." I don't blame Sarah. Nobody signs up for this when they start a relationship. I lost the apartment I had worked so hard to get. My savings went to medical copays and medicines that insurance didn't fully cover. My brother sent $500 every 2 months, when he remembered, as if that covered anything more than diapers. But Mom had always had her favorite. Ever since we were kids, my brother was the smart one, the successful one, the one who was going to conquer the world. When he failed public university, Dad and Mom paid for his degree at a private university. When I needed money for books, they told me to get a part-time job. My brother was sensitive. He needed different support, Mom would say. I was strong. I could handle anything. "You have to take care of your older brother," they had told me my whole life, as if being the youngest meant I had to be invisible. During the treatments, Mom told me she would make it up to me. When this is over, she'd say, "I'm going to help you rebuild your life. I'm going to give you what you deserve for sacrificing for me. I'll always remember you, my boy," she would whisper when I helped her bathe on days she could barely stand. Lies. My brother would show up once every 6 months. He'd arrive with expensive gifts and incredible stories of his adventures. Mom would light up when she saw him. It was as if all those months of pain and treatments disappeared when he walked through the door. He'd take pictures with her, post them on Instagram. The comments would flood him with hearts. What a loving son, what a united family. People saw the perfect photos. They didn't see who cleaned up the vomit at 3 in the morning. When Mom died, my brother arrived at the funeral straight from the airport. He had an Ibiza tan and a new suitcase. All the relatives hugged him, told him, "I'm sorry for your loss," as if he had been the one there all those years. During the wake, he acted like the perfect son, told beautiful stories about Mom, cried at the exact right moments, received condolences as if he were the most affected. I was just standing there, exhausted after 3 years with no life of my own, and people barely spoke to me. A week later came the reading of the will. The lawyer had known our family for years. He knew exactly who had been taking care of Mom. When he read those words, house, savings, investments, everything for the eldest son, his voice sounded uncomfortable, as if he himself couldn't believe what he was reading. I just sat there, processing what I had just heard. 3 years of my life, 3 years that will never be acknowledged. A lost promotion, a lost girlfriend, lost savings, lost mental health, all to care for the woman who, in the end, decided my sacrifice was worthless. My sister finally looked at me. She had that expression she wore when she knew something was wrong but didn't know what to say. My brother was checking his phone as if the reading of a will was boring for him. And that's when I knew I had never really mattered. I stood up, put my cell phone in my pocket, and walked towards the door. The lawyer called out to me, said there were some papers to review, some things to clarify. I didn't turn around. I walked out of that office and never went back. After leaving that office, I blocked my entire family. I changed my number, moved to an apartment on the other side of the city, and basically disappeared off the map. People ask me if I didn't feel bad cutting contact so radically. Honestly, no. I was so emotionally burned out that all I wanted was silence. 3 years without a life of my own leave you exhausted in ways I didn't know existed. The first few days were weird. I'd wake up and, for a second, think I had to go to Mom's house, that I had to check her medicines or prepare her breakfast. Then I'd remember it wasn't my problem anymore, and I didn't know whether to feel free or empty. I got a new job. It wasn't what I had lost, obviously. That opportunity didn't exist anymore, but it was something decent in a small company where nobody knew my story. There, I was just a normal guy who did his job and went home. I liked that feeling of anonymity. Of course, my family wasn't going to leave me alone that easily. First, my brother started. He got my new number, I don't know how, and called me every 2 days. "We need to talk," he'd say. "This is ridiculous. You're acting like a child," as if he were the one who had the right to be upset. Then it was my Aunt Rosa, that woman who, in 3 years of Mom's illness, showed up exactly twice. Now, suddenly, she was the expert on family dynamics. "Your mom loved you very much," she'd tell me. "You're being immature. Family is the most important thing." Easy to say when you never lifted a finger to help. My cousin also got involved. "He's your brother. Family is sacred. You have to forgive." The same cousin who, when I asked him for help taking Mom to a doctor's appointment, told me he was too busy with work. It was incredible, all these people who had made themselves invisible during the hard years now showing up to give me moral lessons, as if caring for someone sick was as easy as giving an opinion on what someone else should do. My sister was the only one who didn't pressure me directly, but I know she was the one passing information about me to the others. It was like a family game of broken telephone where everyone knew where I lived, where I worked, how I was doing. I blocked all the numbers, deleted Facebook, Instagram, everything. If they wanted drama, they could do it without me. Meanwhile, it seems my brother was discovering what it meant to be responsible for someone else. 8 months after Mom's death, Dad started to get worse. Uncontrolled diabetes, hypertension, the typical problems of a 70-year-old man living alone. But now he didn't have Mom to remind him about his pills or cook him healthy food. My brother hired a caregiver for hours a day, Monday to Friday, $2,000 a month, which apparently he couldn't maintain for long. The woman was good, but obviously, 4 hours weren't enough for someone who needed constant supervision. I found out about all this from Dad's neighbors. It turns out that when you disappear off the map, people find ways to contact you. Mrs. Mercedes, who had lived next to Dad for 20 years, got my number and told me everything. Dad had lost like 10 kilos, she told me. He wasn't eating well, he looked depressed, he asked about me constantly. "Why doesn't the boy come?" he'd say. "Where's the boy?" As if after 70 years, I was still the boy to him. My brother was stressed. He didn't know Dad needed so much care, he told Mrs. Mercedes, as if it were a surprise that an elderly, sick person needs attention. Where had he been the last 3 years when I was doing exactly that with Mom? The part that hurt me the most was when Mrs. Mercedes told me that Dad had started to refuse food. He only ate when he asked if I had called. If they told him no, he left the plate untouched. It was as if being away from me was killing him with sadness. That's when my sister decided to intervene. I got a text message on a Sunday morning. It was a photo of Dad. He had lost at least 20 kilos. He looked frail, lost, like a ghost of the person I remembered. The message said, "Dad is very ill. He only eats when you ask if you've called. Please." I stared at that photo, I don't know for how long. That man had been my hero when I was a child. He taught me to ride a bike, took me to soccer on Sundays, was proud when I brought home good grades from school. Seeing him like that broke my heart. But then I remembered everything that had happened. I remembered that he had agreed with the will. I remembered that he too had allowed me to be solely responsible for Mom for 3 years. I remembered that when my brother went to Europe, Dad had said it was a great opportunity for him. Dad had never been bad to me, but he hadn't been fair either. I replied to my sister with a message I knew would hurt. I took care of him for 3 years. According to the will, now it's the heir's problem. I turned off the phone and went for a walk. I needed fresh air and time to process what I had just done. Because for the first time in my life, I had set boundaries. For the first time, I had said no when my family expected me to say yes automatically. For the first time, I had made someone else deal with the consequences of their decisions. And the truth is, it felt good. It felt like justice. After that message, I thought my family would leave me in peace. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Dad ended up in the hospital. Diabetic ketoacidosis and severe malnutrition, according to what Mrs. Mercedes told me later. They found him passed out in the kitchen at 2 in the afternoon. The hospital bill was $8,000. My brother couldn't pay it. It turns out that living in Europe for 2.5 years hadn't been as cheap as he thought. It turns out that maintaining a caregiver and Dad's medical expenses weren't either. It turns out that being the heir came with responsibilities he hadn't calculated. My sister sent me message after message. The hospital is asking for the son who took care of Mom. The doctors want to talk to you. Dad won't stop asking when you're coming. I didn't answer any of them. A week later, my brother showed up at my work. I don't know how he got the address, but there he was, waiting for me in the parking lot when I came out. He looked terrible. He had lost about 10 kilos, had dark circles down to the floor, and his hands were shaking. "I didn't know you were so resentful," he said, as if the problem was my personality and not his decisions. I told him I had nothing to talk to him about, that he had made his choice when he decided to go to Europe while Mom was dying, that he had made his choice when he accepted the entire inheritance without a second thought. That's when he broke down. "I can't anymore," he said. I didn't know it was so difficult. I didn't know Dad needed so much attention. I didn't know the medical expenses were so high, as if ignorance were a valid excuse. He told me he had been considering selling the house, our childhood home, where we grew up, where Mom had lived until the end. He was going to sell it to pay off the medical debts and get rid of the problem. My brother kept talking. He offered me half the house if I helped him with Dad. "I'll give you what Dad wanted to give you," he said. "Just help me. I can't do it alone." It was ironic. Now he wanted to share the inheritance. Now he recognized my value when he needed something from me. I asked him where that generosity had been when Mom was alive. Where had that family conscience been when I was destroying myself, taking care of her? Where had that humility been when he accepted the entire inheritance without a peep? He had no answer for any of it. Mom always said you were stronger, he confessed, that you could handle anything, that I was more sensitive and needed protection. As if being strong meant I had to endure everything in silence. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not out of guilt, but out of anger. All my life, they had told me I was the strong one, the one who could handle anything, the one who didn't need help. And I had believed them. I had carried that responsibility as if it were my destiny. But being strong doesn't mean being stupid, and it definitely doesn't mean being free labor. 2 days later, I went to the hospital. Not to reconcile with my family, but to see Dad one last time. He was awake when I arrived. His face lit up as if he had seen a miracle. "Son," he said, "I knew you would come." We talked for an hour. He apologized for the will. He told me he had wanted to be fair to me, but Mom had convinced him that my brother needed me more, that she had always known I was the one who would take care of everything. I told him I forgave him, and it was true. Dad had been weak, but not malicious. He had allowed Mom to make those decisions because it had always been easier to give in than to confront her. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it definitely doesn't mean going back to being the one who carries everything. Before I left, I did something I never thought I would do. I got him a place in a nursing home. Not one of the cheap ones, but a good one, with 24-hour medical care. I paid the first month's fee, $3,000, which hurt, but I needed to pay it to sleep peacefully. I told my brother that this was my farewell, that Dad would be well cared for a month, that after that, the heir had to manage on his own. My brother begged me to reconsider, that family was the most important thing, that Mom would have wanted us to be united. The same empty phrases they had used all my life to manipulate me. I told him Mom had had her chance to show what I was worth to her, that she had chosen, and that I was choosing too. Dad died 6 months later. He died peacefully, well cared for, without pain. My brother had managed to keep up the nursing home payments by selling half of the investments he had inherited. I didn't go to the funeral. I sent flowers and a note that said, "Rest in peace, Dad." Let my brother handle the emotional speeches and condolences. I had already done my part. Now, a year and a half later, my brother lives in a rented apartment. He sold the house last year to pay the remaining medical debts. He works a job he hates to support himself. Some relatives still write to me from time to time, saying I'm cruel, that family is sacred, that Mom would have been sad to see us like this. Funny how none of them offer to help my brother financially. It's easier to criticize me than to open their wallets. I got a better job. I'm in a healthy relationship with someone who understands the importance of boundaries. I go to therapy, and I've learned that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. Sometimes I think about Mom, and it makes me sad, but not angry anymore. She made her choices, and I made mine. Favoritism has a price, and finally, I'm not the one paying it. This story teaches us several important lessons. Family favoritism has devastating consequences. When parents create unfair dynamics between siblings, they not only hurt the less favored one, but also harm the favorite by not preparing them for real life. Sacrifices do not guarantee recognition. You can give everything for someone and still be invisible to that person. Unconditional love is not always reciprocated, and it's okay to protect yourself when this happens. Setting boundaries is not cruelty, it's survival. Saying no after years of saying yes feels like betrayal to those who got used to your infinite availability, but your mental well-being is worth more than others' comfort. Responsibilities come with privileges. If someone wants to inherit the benefits, they must also accept the obligations. You can't take the good and reject the difficult. Justice doesn't always come from the system. Sometimes we create it ourselves. When institutions, family, society fail to be just, We have the right and responsibility to create our own justice by establishing clear boundaries. In the end, this story reminds us that self-love is not selfishness, it's a necessity.